If you have a father, a mother, a friend, or you yourself have ever experienced with alcohol, any addiction, there are days your fist is clenched and you say, I'm going to overcome my addiction. But that overcoming, you can, it's just 10 years away. And you have to go through 10 years of intense struggle to get there. And you have no idea what the obstacles are. And talk to any seasoned alcoholic in recovery and they will tell you. They tried, they failed. They tried, they failed. They tried, they failed. That's the third peak. But the young man doesn't see any of it. And then there is a third painting. Manhood. His hair is long. His face unshaven. He looks ragged. He's still on a boat. The waters are no longer calm. It's devastating. His knees are bent. His hands are clenched together like a prayer mode. He is no longer in control of anything. And remember, you can apply all of this to any situation in life. Before you guys came in, Greg was telling me about his knee. When he was a young man, he is no longer, but when he was a young man, he wanted to be a tennis pro. There came a point where he felt a little weird regarding his knees. They would ache him, pain him. And like this young man, he said, I'm going to fix this on my own. He walked, he bicycled, he massaged them. But he came to realize this is a territory in which he has no expertise. He's incompetent. All the knowledge he has in his life will not do him any favors in regards to his knees. So you know what he did? He found himself in rough waters. He wanted to play, but he couldn't. He wanted to walk, but he couldn't. So his knees bent. His hands clenched. And in this time, he took to the yellow pages. He found a chiropractor. And he went to this woman. And he said, help, I am incompetent. I am weak. I am feeble. I thought I have control, but I don't. I thought I knew, but I don't. I need help. Every time any of you in this class go to your journal and write and lament. Anytime you scream, you fight. Anytime any of you walk to the cemetery and walk around, you get depressed. It's because your knees are bent. Your backs are broken. You need help. You're no longer in charge of any goddamn thing about your life. Despair will come in. Loneliness will come in. You will feel angry and betrayed. I am emphasizing all of this because I need you to understand the wisdom of Hinduism, which is about 5,000 years old. I'm not talking about puny Dr. Phil or Dr. Oz or all the ridiculous gurus you see on TV. You need to have some appreciation for cultures that have been here for a while. They have a great understanding of how life works. You don't. Now, rebel. She had pleasure a long time ago, and she evolved. She went to school, got a job. She has power. She got married and 25 children. She had her bouts of discontent. And now she looks herself in the mirror and says, yes, I have all of this. But for some strange reason, I feel condemned by my own psyche. I don't really know what I'm looking for anymore. I thought it was sex. No. I thought it was money. No. I thought it was marriage and children. No. What the hell is it that lives inside me? What am I looking for? Why do I look in the mirror and feel disgusted? Now remember, there are a couple of ways you can feel the stuff. You can feel the stuff in passing. You can feel the stuff because they have made a huge home inside you where you can't walk away from them. And you have to be at a profoundly privileged place in life where you say, I no longer desire physical pleasure. I have money, I just don't know what to do with it. I have a marriage, I just don't know what to talk to my husband or wife about. But there is something about me that's about to explode. I don't know what it is. You have to be profoundly rich and healthy to begin your quest on the spiritual. You can't be broken. You can't go on a spiritual quest because your boyfriend left you. You can't go on a spiritual quest because you got no money, or because you got no dad or you got no mom. You have to be profoundly healthy to pursue this path in Hinduism called moksha. You have to be a seasoned human being, mature. There is this young kid, it comes from the Islamic tradition. Young kid goes to a teacher and says, he's 20 or 21, 22. I am here because I want to figure out what truth is. So this old man looks at this young fart and says, so, are you in a relationship? No. Are you married? No. Have you ever been in love? No. Okay. Go into the world, find a woman or a man, fall in love. Have sex in love. Make money with this person in love. Buy a house, have children in love. When you have tasted the difficulties of physical life, when your skin has grown thick, when you no longer whine, when you no longer go to therapy because you understand life is just fucked up and difficult, grow up. Now you will be ready for the spiritual quest. But until then, keep your mouth shut. Go back into life and just live it healthy. Now, some of you in this class who are basically an introverts and you are moved by your feelings, you look at someone like me and you say, what the hell does he know? He just went to school. Try it. Sit your ass down and write a dissertation for 25 hours. Be rejected by a committee. Be committed to going to school for about 20 years. One day you will meet my wife and you will realize, well, her and I don't have very many things in common. Try to survive a relationship that has no meaning and yet be respectful. You understand nothing. Just some big, lofty, unexamined ideas about yourselves. Now, spelled right? A very, very, very healthy woman. She's just not happy. It's not that she can't smoke. It's not that she can't get sex. It's not that she can't do alcohol. She can. She's healthy. It's not that she doesn't have money. She does. It's not that she is lonely. She is not. She has a companion. She has a great family. And yet, on the inside, she is unhappy. All the things that used to give her meaning, power, stability, out the window. Her mosaic life has begun. She is in the desert. And what lives in the desert? Sand. There is no water as a sign of life. Who lives in the desert? No one. You walk in it alone. You need to understand, when the world down here no longer gives you meaning, identity, a sense of self, when the world here can no longer be relevant to you, it means it can no longer judge you. Judge you. You don't care about the opinions of other people. That's a great loss to you. You see, if you respect your mom, if you respect your dad, and they look at you and they say you're stupid, you're reduced to nothing. But the moment you lose respect for your father and he looks at you and he says you're stupid and it doesn't move you, you now live in the psychological poverty where you have lost respect for anyone who could properly guide you in life. You're abandoned, you're on your own, and good luck figuring things out because life is complicated. You have to be young and profoundly unintelligent, unreflective, and stupid to think that you can figure life out on your own. Okay. Now, what does one do here in this extreme place of poverty, inner poverty? Some of you in this class have had experiences with not having food for a few hours because you were sitting in class perhaps. Or maybe you had a business meeting. Or maybe you were going on this long trip. Or maybe you just had no money. Do you know what happens when you're starving? Initially, you look for food, none to be found. Then you ask people. You get rejected, and that pisses you off. 8 billion people. Not a single human being passing you by will give you a buck. In isolation, you'll feel alone, betrayed, angry. Then there comes a point where you, because of the lack of food, you have no energy inside you. You know what you do? You sleep. You're depressed. This is a stage of inner poverty. And though you may be functioning out here, things inside you are just rotting away. Hindus understood this stuff some 3,000-4,000 years ago. That no one is exempt from this. And if you happen to have gone through this in a very reflective, intelligent way, okay, when a young kid comes to you and talks this big talk, inwardly you just laugh at them. Because they just use words. And inside these words, there is nothing, no substance, no experience, it's just hollow. Poverty moves you into silence. There is nothing to talk about. You've been there. You've done that. مرده امیر روم بر روی خاک زنده گردان جانم جان بخش پاک. That it is true, I talk, I walk around, I do all sorts of things, but on the inside, I am dead. What is rebel looking for? Rebel is looking for a nourishment. A nourishment that this world or this world or this world can't give her. That person in Hinduism is called a guru, but she's looking for a teacher. Remember, she doesn't know what she's looking for, but she's looking for something. At this stage, something about rebel changes. In the Persian world, when someone gets to this stage where these three stages no longer work for them, we say that their inner nose, has become activated. In the sense that they begin to smell. They begin to look for a very, very specific smell. They don't really know what it is, but they can recognize it, feel it, the moment it comes their way. A rebel is no longer going to be swayed by someone who's attractive on the outside, by someone who speaks eloquently and articulately. Remember, these worlds, what they have is called Maya. They create the illusion that they contain meaning. They create the illusion that they have substance. They create the illusion that these worlds never expire. Okay? It's a mirage you see on the road, and you think it's a pool of water when in fact it's just dry. And what the Hindus argue, at the end of every journey, what you find is called samsara. You will suffer because you took the unreal as real. For those of you in this class who once in a while become victimized by your feelings of love for another human being, you assume that this passion you have for another will last for a long, long time. It won't. But it is your belief in this Maya and this illusion that will eventually cause your own downfall. The French philosopher, one of the founders of existential movement, Jean-Paul Sartre, once argued that we all deserve the war that we get. If some of you in this class don't like your fathers, for whatever the reasons is, maybe, let me give you a couple of examples as to, as long as you hate your father, you suck as a human being. Because if you don't get over that hurdle, the truth is you won't find yourself in any relationship that's going to be healthy. You will destroy everything you touch. Let's say your father is a drunk or has been a drunk. Do you know how difficult it is for an 18-year-old to one day wake up to a knocking door, a woman looking at him saying, "I'm pregnant," when this 18-year-old is not ready to yet have a child or be in a committed relationship? Do you know how difficult it is for this young man, this 18-year-old, to hear this news, drop out of school, and go to Home Depot and get a job there 9 to 5? How long do you think he's able to keep his frustrations down? 18-year-olds don't have dreams? They don't have hopes? They don't have a right to have fun with life? And yet, they feel as if those opportunities were stolen from them. All he wanted was sex. Not children, just sex. Not a committed relationship. Just a hit and run. And he got trapped into hit and stay. How long do you think an 18-year-old who lacks the proper reflective abilities or faculties, can he survive this without going to the bottle, without taking up weed, without watching pornography, without having anger issues? You have no idea how it feels to be robbed of life. This is not an excuse for anyone's behavior. But once you understand a world and its complexities, then perhaps the emotion of hate can be replaced by understanding and slowly compassion and slowly forgiveness. But understanding is very, very difficult. To understand anything, you have to remove yourself from the world in which you live with all the toxic emotions. You have to be an observer. Okay? Now, with her nose, she smells something funny about Socrates. She doesn't know what Socrates has. He is a man, walks like every other man, talks like every other man, and yet there is something very, very different. Go back to Siddhartha, Hermann Hesse's book, where Siddhartha looks around, thousands of people around him, yet there is the Buddha. And he says, I see something in his eyes. I don't know what it is, but there is something really special in his eyes. I want to go near him. I want to smell him. I want to sit next to him. Now, one of the things you need to understand is the following. Rebel has been in control. She is an individual. She is independent. She falls in love, but she keeps her autonomy. She falls in love, but she keeps her independence. She is at a place of poverty. Socrates is at a place of privilege. She feels as if Socrates has something to offer her. She smells it. Remember, she can't understand, because if she could understand what Socrates has, she would be like Socrates. Okay? So, what happens is this. The more she hangs out with Socrates, and remember what happens with any one of us in this class, how attachments, how relationships are formed. You spend time. You waste time. In spending and wasting time with another, you create stories. You want to go to the St. Pete's Coffee we went to last night? Should we go to the same Thai restaurant? You want to walk around the lake we did last week? What are you doing? You're creating stories. And what lives inside these stories? You and the other person. Without stories, without narratives, there is no relationship. Narratives are the creation of time spent. Okay? Now, though Rebel may desire Socrates, The three worlds live inside rebel. All the addictions, all the pains, all the hurts, and all the desires. She assumes that Socrates is very much like the anatomy of the desires living in these worlds. Socrates has this thing inside him, let's just call wisdom. I don't know what wisdom is, and neither do you, trust me. All I know is the following. It's not data. It's not information. It's not knowledge. I don't know what it is, but it's none of this stuff. Don't raise your hand and tell me Buddhism about detachment. You have no idea what the hell you're talking about. You have data. Yes. Good for you. You can read. Okay? Now, Socrates looks down at Rebel and he sees his own reflection inside her. This is very, very, very important. If Socrates does not find certain components in Rebel attractive, he will never pursue Rebel. You think that it's only students pursuing teachers. That's not true. It's a two-way street. There is an image of Rebel inside Socrates that Rebel sees, and she likes. When I am around Socrates, I become quiet. I become reflective. I don't think about my dad. My depression all of a sudden has meaning. My loneliness has meaning. It's as if I have found my home. It's very strange, I don't know why, but there is something about the presence of Socrates that just calms me down. Rebel has entered the world of mystery. And remember, human beings want to understand. We want to understand, and once you understand, you have control and you have power. Rebel tries to understand about why she feels certain ways about Socrates, but that is not in her power. Now remember, Rebel lives in these three worlds, but she's also interested in Socrates. What must Socrates do to remove these worlds from Rebel's interior? How many of you in this class have ever played with a magnifying glass in the sun? Well, what do you do? Let's say you want to burn a leaf. You must hold the magnifying glass in a very, very unique position that all the forces or the rays, okay, or the energy coming from the sun through the glass becomes one-pointed. And all the energy are just focused, okay, on the leaf, single points. And all of a sudden, you see smoke coming from the leaf, and then it burns. What Socrates understands about Rebel is, yes, she is interested, but she is distracted. You can't serve two masters. You read in the Gospels, and it's very, very true. He wants to be in a monogamous relationship. She wants this world as well as this world. And it won't work. How does Socrates bait Rebel? We talked about this previously. I'll do it again. Okay? So just in case, in your 30s, 40s, 50s, or 60s, this stuff happens to you, you can think back about the class you took at Laney 40 years before. And now you begin to understand. But 40 years later. And when you do understand 40 years later, Google my name, come to the cemetery, pay your respects. Okay? Socrates has made rebel curious. He stands by rebel and protects curiosity and morphs it into interest. He stands by rebel. How does he stand by rebel? Come to the house, let's have coffee. The more time you spend with Socrates, the less time you spend with karma, artha, and dharma. Remember, you gotta go home and cook for your husband, your kids, your wife, but you spend time with Socrates. Go back to what we talked about in the Vedic tradition, Yajur Veda. You need to make sacrifices. And you will feel guilty walking with Socrates when your husband is home waiting for you. When your kids are home waiting for you. So don't think that this is a very clean path. You catch yourself and you say, what the hell am I doing? I have a family waiting for me. And you have to overcome the guilt. Okay? Now, remember, this is about thinking about Socrates for 20 minutes a day. This, an hour a day. Then all of a sudden you find yourself infatuated with Socrates. Okay, so if this is 10 minutes, if this is 1 hour, okay? The moment you become infatuated, now you think about Socrates 5 hours. And you know what happens when you are infatuated with Socrates? You begin to smell like Socrates. You don't laugh at the stupid jokes given to you by your friends. You don't smoke with your friends. You don't drink with your friends. You don't watch movie, and if you do it with a good amount of guilt. The more you have Socrates on the inside, the less you have the stuff inside you. And yet, you need to go back to life and work and make rent. And you won't like it. You won't like it because Socrates has made your physical life meaningless. And then, when you spend more time, you become obsessed with Socrates. And you know what happens with obsession? Can I come over today? Can I text you? Can I call you? Can I email you? You're relentless. Why? Because you have come to a stage in your own spiritual evolution where Socrates is the only home that you know and the only home that you have. Without him, you are nothing in this world. This is not very different from romantic love. Okay? The only exception is he is not just giving you his body. He's giving you this thing called wisdom. So if a romantic relationship lasts for about a year, this relationship is going to last about 10 years. With a good amount of push and pull. Go back to Carlos Castaneda. He falls in love with Don Juan, a PhD student in Los Angeles, UCLA. He comes to a point where he says, this is just too goddamn much. I can't do it anymore. He walks away for 3 years. And he comes to realize, without Don Juan, his PhD means nothing. Anthropology means nothing. Becoming a professor means nothing. In fact, he is becoming nothing. So what does he do after 3 years? Goes back. Okay? And then there is this thing called love. Love. You begin as a student to love your teacher. But because you're still at the stage of a novice, you simply can't but love his body. We call it eros. It's physical. And by body I mean you want to be near the physical body of your teacher. You want to be at his school, at his house, near his car.